clarify, because you know how when you think someone's name, I've been saying it wrong for years, so embarrassing. Lauren Clough was a member at Rise, and it has just been a joy to know you through the years. And I'm excited for people to get to know you better and learn about your company. Welcome.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here, and I did bring my tea. I love this mug. Tired as a mother, which
So true.
I
Mother
know
of two you are.
I know you know about that, Stacey.
I do now. I'm thankful that I can say I do now. Well, welcome. You know, instead of reading your crazy impressive bio, which I have been a fan of yours and just watching your journey, I think it's more fun to sort of start in a different way and start with first job and current job. So tell us about your first job when you were a kid. What did you do?
Wow. Gosh, I should have been like a waitress, but I'm not that skilled. So never really did much of that.
Yeah.
My family had a business where I grew up. And so my dad thought it was a good idea to, get me started early. So 14 is when I started. And I think there are some laws against that now, but
you're like, Dad.
Back then, I think maybe he thought it was like babysitting. I don't know, but essentially I worked in the company's mailroom. So, they would have me like filing invoices, which that dates me a little bit because we don't file invoices anymore, clearly.
Right.
So, grunt work like that, they would have me, do, printer type stuff or, put mailing labels on envelopes to mail out those invoices probably. So it was, it was a great experience and continued, working as I could pretty much through college, the summer times and whatnot. And so just a great experience and really good people. And I think back to those days with fond memories.
Yes. And then you went on to work for the family company for quite some time.
That's right. That's right. I wasn't sure I would, but I decided, I decided to come back. So right after undergrad, I went to work for Kellogg's, this cereal company.
Yes.
They had just acquired Keebler. And so I moved to Chicago and worked in a sales role. And that was a great company to work for.
Yes.
It wasn't a great fit for me. So I had a quarter life crisis. Took the summer to go to the Lake of the Ozarks with, if anyone knows, the Midwest, Lake of the Ozarks is a place that, and so, worked there a little bit, but ultimately decided, I got to get out of the Midwest for a while, moved to Colorado, which is where I live now, as you know. And this was the first stint. Did not work for the family business yet. Worked for USA Rugby, which is, twist and turn.
Yes, I didn't know that, twist and turn. Yeah.
Who would think? But that was another great experience. Did that for 2.5 years. Went back to get my master's and my MBA, and then decided, okay, come back to the family business. Worked in a sales role, which again wasn't a great fit. But then, got moved into business development, which was better for me. And that's really, that's where I worked with Dot for over 13 years in some form of a business development role and just really, really enjoyed it.
Yes. I think that's so cool. And now you're doing your own thing. Tell us about your current job.
Yes. So, got to a point in my life and career, and I just, I wanted something, a new challenge, right? Something. And did I get a challenge? Gosh.
Be careful what you ask for, Lauren.
Yes. You know this, Stacey, because you've started a business. Many people out there that have started a business, everyone will tell you, it's hard. It's hard to start a business. And before I was like, of course it's hard, but no, it's like really, really hard.
It's a hard that you don't understand until you're in it. Like, it's just, it's hard in a way that you can't predict. It stirs up so many of your own inner struggles and forces you to grow as a human in a way that you just can't see coming.
Exactly. You're exactly right. I liken it to, becoming a mom, having a family. People used to tell me before I had my first child, it's the hardest thing that you'll ever do, but it's the best.
Right.
And like logically, I couldn't understand that. I'm like, how can something that is the hardest be the best?
Yes.
And it's so true.
Right.
It's so true.
Absolutely. And same with entrepreneurship. And so you have launched your own company with a co-founder, of course, as well.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Kelly Baird is my co-founder, and we met. We won't go into this story, but we met at a a cheese creamery. We were both working at a cheese creamery, and stayed in touch. And so we decided to launch this business together. And I'm so glad I have Kelly, because when you're like, man, this is so hard, and you need to be pulled up, she can pull me up. And then likewise when she's down. And so, yeah, we launched a technology business, which is so interesting because my background is in consumer packaged goods, essentially. Really supply chain management, logistics,
Right.
but really around the CPG industry. And so when I was like, I need a new challenge, I really want to make a mark on this world. I want something that fulfills me in that way. I want something that is part of my legacy.
Yes.
And so it's like we're swinging for the fences here. It's like,
you are.
Go big or go home. And hey, let's learn something that we didn't know anything about. And so that's what we're doing. So we launched bQuest earlier this year. We spent most of last year building the technology, building our professional community, which has just been such a wonderful experience for me, because every day I get to talk to these professionals. That very diverse community. We've got finance, legal, aging care. We have death doulas, we have hospice, we have home care, we have after loss professionals, senior placement agents, funeral directors, a wide variety. But I get to talk to these people, and their hearts are in this. They want to serve families that are navigating aging, end of life, and death. And this is it's hard stuff. Right?
It is. And I think that speaks to that wide variety, speaks to the reality of when you have a relative or somebody that that passes, just the full scope of the ripple effect. I mean, you have the obvious grief and the challenge of just the sadness, but what people don't think about is all the extra layers that you're speaking about. And so I'm not surprised that you have such a wide breadth of service providers.
Yeah, it is. And, that's what really drew me to this.
Yes.
Is that we call this the journey of life and loss.
Yes.
And we're all, this unites all of us, right? We're all on this journey together at different stages, right? And so, I've recently started supporting my mom, who is still very healthy, my mom.
Yeah. Love your mom.
Living independently. But we've started doing kind of more of the planning type stuff, right? Estate planning, financial planning, talking about her legacy. And so we're all going to experience this, and it's hard. I haven't met one person in this time that we've been building this business, and even before, when we were exploring starting it, that has said, oh yeah, supporting my loved one through aging and end of life, that was so easy. I knew exactly what to do.
Right. Well, and I think about our generation. I don't know if you're Gen X, but being Gen X, myself, it really is the sandwich generation, right? You're working on your career, you're raising kids, you've got all these such things going on that are stressful in and of itself. And then you have your aging parents on top of it. And it's a lot to navigate. And so I love that your platform is there to sort of, I want to say ease the burden, but I don't know if that's the right way to say it or if that's too negative of a spin.
We call it ease the journey, right?
The journey. I like that better.
We call it a labor of love, right? And you're exactly right. Our target demographic is us. Kelly's been through a lot. Gosh, she's really lives our mission every day. I won't share her story, but she's been through a lot too. And so we're building something that we want and need, right? And it's for many people are in the sandwich generation now, and so it's a lot to juggle, and it's a very emotional experience. And so if we can make that journey, just a little easier, gosh, and if we could do that for millions of people, I mean, I can drop the mic, right? There's nothing else that I need to do. Of course, raise good humans. Like that's
right.
priority.
But you can raise better humans if you're in a better state mentally because your parents are cared for and supported.
100%. Yes. So it's very fulfilling. It's very hard because what we're trying to do, we're building a marketplace, right? We're building something where ideally, someone is going through this saying, what the heck do I do? Where do I go? Where do I turn? Can come to bQuest. We can quickly identify what they're going through uniquely to them, and then be able to make those personalized recommendations as to this is the type of professional that exists to serve you in this moment, and then connect them with these best of the best professionals that we've already selected and vetted. I mean, sounds really simple, right? But that's what we're going for.
Uh-oh, did I freeze? Are you there?
I'm here. I'm here.
I was joking that it sounds simple, but it's absolutely not simple. And I think that's one of your special sauces, right? That you guys spend so much time and really go out of your way to ensure that the people on the platform are quality. Because when you're in that overwhelm and you Google, funeral home or estate planning attorney or whatever it may be your needs, it's like paradox of choice.
Yes, exactly. There are so many directories out there, great directories, right?
Sure.
They've got every single estate planning attorney, they've got every single home care provider, which is great. Except when I look at those lists, it creates more anxiety for me.
Yes.
Because I say, okay, what do I do with this? Especially when you're in that mental mode and it's stressful and it's emotional. And many times you're like, I need to make decisions quickly.
Yes.
And you want to make the best decisions you can for your loved one or yourself. And you're like, I don't even know what to do with this list. Mm-hmm. Right. So we want to take that away from the process so that, hey, if the provider is here on the bQuest platform, I can trust them, right? They've done the legwork to know that they are the best of the best, and they can be trusted. And all I have to do is now identify who seems to be the best for me, whether it's by location or expertise. Some families are looking for providers that have expertise in dementia care, right? And that's very important. Some are looking for, providers that insurance covers, right? So we're working on making sure that we have all that information in one place to make it an easier process.
Yeah. And we're talking a lot about after it happens or in the midst of it. What I love about your platform is it has like the full journey. So you were speaking about your mom, people who are still alive and how to optimize it. And then, I love the component on the earlier stage too. I feel like the younger generations, for me, when I think of death, I kind of want to bury my head, right? But I feel like the younger generations, it's more of a death positive vibe. And I love that you're incorporating some of that into your platform.
That's really good, Stacey. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. The younger generations are so open to it, and they think about their legacy, and they think about what they want people to say about them and how they want people to celebrate them. And I just think it's wonderful. And even with my mom, again, in great health, still living independently, we've been talking about, and she's been thinking a lot about what she wants her funeral to be like. And it's so, and that's just kind of how my mom is too, but it's a lot easier to have these conversations when there are no issues, right? Yes. And it's more in a positive way as to, she's like, these are the songs that I want because I love these songs, and this, here are the things that I want read, or, this is, these are the things that she wants, and it's kind of fun. It sounds weird, but it's kind of fun to talk about it because it's really about a celebration of everything that my mom is.
Well, it's a bonding experience. And, I think about, I don't know if it's, the time I was raised or my family or whatever, but it's a very vulnerable experience to think about talking about this. But I was actually on a podcast the other day with a gal whose husband, like right after marriage, got diagnosed with this brain cancer, right? And was given 6 months to live. Now, granted, he has now lived, 15 more years, but she was talking about how they live 3 months at a time. And on the surface, that sounds terrible. And don't get me wrong, I don't wish that upon anyone. But just when you're willing to face how fragile life really is, how dramatically you change your day to day. And it sounds like that's sort of some of the experiences you're seeing. Your platform is a true testament to that.
Yes, and that's what we want to encourage. So we want to be there for someone in crisis that needs to make those important decisions quickly. But we also really want to talk about, how to support someone that is thinking about legacy planning, right?
Yes.
For their own legacy, that says, okay, gosh, I know I should have done my estate planning. I haven't yet, but I need to do it. Whether you have young kids and you don't have a guardian established or not. And then the financial planning piece too, which, I have to thank you because you connected me with
Tiffany
Charles from Destiny Capital. She was one of our first, even before we decided to launch this business. She's just been a thought partner, super supportive. And that's really how we built this community. Friends like you that say, oh my gosh, I know this person and they're fantastic and you should talk to them. So you've been a big part of this as well, Stacey.
Thank you. Well, I think that whole having that trusted network, that's something that like I really enjoy and have the space to build, but a lot of people don't. Yes. So it's like you are building that friend network for people and just taking that off the plate. And, you're really disrupting an industry and creating, death tech is a newer, and when I've talked about your program to my friends, I'm like, yeah, Lauren's building this really cool death tech. And I just get this like strange look when I say that. Yeah. What is that like as a founder doing something that's a little bit less mainstream, if you will?
Yeah, it's a great question. And really early on, we focused really primarily around death and after loss. And it was hard. It was hard. I remember referencing that as death tech to my dad, and he was like, "I wouldn't use that term." And I said, "Well, that's the industry term, Dad, right?" And so we still certainly focus on providing guidance and services around death and after loss. But the more we've learned about the human experience, yes, the more we realize that there's a lot that we can do kind of earlier in life too. And so that's really kind of age tech, right? Which is getting a lot of
that's okay. That's new to me. Okay. Age tech. I like that.
And many companies, innovative new companies are focusing in one or the other, right? Okay. And so we are intentionally not going as deep as those companies in any one, whether it's age tech or death tech, or I think gray tech is another one. I mean, it's so interesting, right? Yes. Elders, gray. I'm not so sure about it, but either way. So we want to again not go as deep in any one particular vertical, but we want to be able to provide connectivity and resources along a further time frame, right? Yes. And so we touch on a little bit of both. We touch on age tech, we touch on death tech, and hopefully we can again be that one place that people come to along many steps on the journey, or at least that's the hope.
This is a weird analogy that just came to me. Please don't. But when you were talking about having a little bit of everything, it sort of made me think of like Home Depot or Lowe's. Like they're not a painting store. They're not carpenter, whatever. They really have this breadth of things, so that when you walk in, whatever it is that you need, it's there. Right. And that's what I was thinking when you were talking about that. So you're in this newer industry doing a tech platform, being new to the world of tech and being new to the world of entrepreneurship. What are some lessons learned, or what has been some of the hardest parts of this journey?
Gosh, do we have time for it is, me, Stacey, and I'm a pretty even keel person, right? I don't really love the roller coaster, the ups and downs. And yet here we are. And it is a roller coaster. There are some like so exciting moments and you just feel like, oh my gosh, we're going to do this. This is going to happen and we're going to impact millions of lives. Yes. And then some days you're like, oh, can we do it? Can we actually do this? Because you think about everything that needs to be done. And so that's when it's like, okay, take a deep breath. One day at a time. We don't have to plan at, a year in advance. We can take one step, one day at a time. And it's wonderful to our professional community, is incredible. And they are so supportive, and they're like, oh my gosh, this concept makes sense. Why has no one done this? And they're like, I want to be a part of it. So that is so encouraging.
Yes.
Having other founders, that have done it.
Yeah.
And then that can say, it's hard, keep going. Right.
Yes.
I mean, we've talked about this.
Definitely.
And it's like, so encouragement from fellow founders is so important. The community here in Colorado, the startup ecosystem.
Yes, it's incredible.
Incredible. Even investors, we're starting to raise capital now. And so I'm meeting with a lot of investors, both angel investors. So if you're out there, give me a call, as well as venture capitalists. And honestly, if I meet with a venture capitalist and they say, either, you're too early for us, or, it's a different focus area than what we're focusing on, they're always like, let me connect you with these people that might be interested, or they're focused specifically in age tech or death tech. And so it's just, it's a really supportive environment, which makes all the difference.
No, absolutely. And you were talking about the highs and the lows, and you said from day to day. I was kind of in my head chuckling because I mean, for me, it was sometimes within hours, right? Like you start your day and something amazing happens, and by the end of the day, you have something else happening. So I think it's kudos to you that it's days versus hours. So that's a good sign, Lauren.
Well, we might get there. We might get to that point, Stacey. I'll give you a call when we do.
Well, having a co-working space in the middle of the pandemic, I mean, that's what to be expected. But no, I think entrepreneurship, you're right. Corporate America and sort of the day-to-day experience and that versus the day-to-day experience. And when it's your baby, I mean, this is very much your heart out there, in the world, day to day. So I think that's a really good point. And you are surrounded by some of the most incredible people. And so raising capital, what has that been like? It sounds like you're getting in front of the people. I interviewed Danielle Hill a couple of weeks ago, and she was sharing about her experience in raising capital. I mean, being a woman in tech, it's definitely an interesting endeavor. How is that going? How are you keeping yourself sane, assuming you are?
Do I look sane?
You do, Lauren, you do.
We've really just kind of got started. So I've had a number of conversations, more scratching the surface, just kind of getting to know if this is, a focus area for some of these investors, what are they looking for? And so I think it's going to be a long journey. It's a really hard time to raise capital. I don't know if Danielle mentioned that. So take the macro economic, state. Yeah. That's a challenge. And then you're right. Statistics show that female founders do not get a lot of capital.
Right.
And so I know that, like, I think about that, but I also try to use it as leverage, right? Because there are a lot of funds out there. There are a lot of angel investors that want to support women founders. And so I want to go find them. And that's really where we're focusing is for those that want to lift up, women founders, I want to talk to them because that's what, they're looking for, opportunities like bQuest. So, we're learning a lot. I actually just had a call with a VC in New York right before this. Call went great. And they are solely focused in the elder care space, right, in age tech. And so that's also someone that we want to seek out. Is they have had personal experiences. The GPs, many of their LPs, they've had personal experiences, and so they want to change the experience. Yes. And so those are great people to partner with.
Well, and I think that's a good lesson universally, is that when you're thinking about your investor, you're thinking about someone who's going to understand your product and not wasting your time trying to convince somebody that's just never going to be your person. I think that's a really good point.
Absolutely. And many times they bring more than capital to the table. Mm-hmm. So they can bring introductions to employers, right, that are looking for employee benefits around the elder care experience. Care coordination is really what that is. And so that is, the employer space is one that we think we can bring a lot of value to employees there, because, many times, I think it's 60% of employees are currently caring for an aging loved one, right? And statistics also show that like 80% of the time, the employer does not have employee benefit around care coordination. And so we do think there's a big opportunity for us to help there. The healthcare space, they can make introductions to as well, because many times when something happens, they look to their primary care or their geriatric care doctor. And often they don't have the time or the resources to provide a lot of guidance to care coordination. So anyway, we're trying to partner with people that can help us there also.
Yeah. And you guys just launched and you're killing it. If you guys aren't following them yet on social media, you need to start following them. I love that you are highlighting and really making the focus about the people on your platform. I think that is just so fun to watch. Right now you are in Colorado. Yes. But this is needed all over the country, right? This is actually needed all over the world, but that might not be your thing to solve for. When you think about a couple of years from now, or 5 years from now, what really is your vision as to where this company is going and how you're going to have world domination and solve?
Yes, I love that, Stacey. I love world domination. I would say, regional first, and then national, and then we'll talk about the world. But all joking aside, that's one of the first things that when we talk to people, whether it's friends or just users, right? Often they're asking, okay, they're thinking, well, my mom or my dad is in Florida, and so everything might be good right now, but eventually I'm going to have to help, and I live here in Colorado. Yes. So are you in Florida? Like, can I get on your platform and find service providers in Florida? And so it's heavy on our minds and our hearts. Of course. That in order to really help millions of people, like is our mission, we're gonna have to be national, and so we gotta crawl before we walk and walk before we run. But it's absolutely something that we know we need to do in order to help our families.
Absolutely. And having a strong connection back to the Midwest and Missouri, I can see you being there before we know it. So I'm excited for that. Being a singer.
Well, yes. And you as well, Stacey, that's near and dear to both of our hearts. So, and I have to thank you because, social media is a big part of our strategy on how we're connecting with families, and we're actually, getting ready to kick up that more and become thought leaders. And so you always like our posts, and often share. And so that's, you've got such a strong network. So we really appreciate all the support, even from the beginning. So
I think people lose sight of that in the sense of how can I help others? And, maybe I'm not ready to jump on their platform, or maybe I'm not ready to invest in a company, whatever it is. What people don't realize is just liking and sharing and engaging with people's posts is such a nice thing to do for entrepreneurs. That is a low cost, no cost way to support people along the journey. And I know a lot of people want to help entrepreneurs. And so I'm glad you brought that up. That is an easy way that I encourage all people to do to help other entrepreneurs. And speaking of helping entrepreneurs, I feel like you have always through the years been willing to meet with people and support people. I'm curious what advice you have for other founders as they're venturing out and taking the leap. Maybe let's think about advice specifically going from corporate America. I think that transition you made is something I talk to women all the time about. They've been in corporate America, or they've been successful working for others, and they're just itching for more, and they want to start something, but they don't even know where to begin or what that looks like or how to do it. And, you taking that leap, I think, is so inspiring for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is a big leap because it's a very different experience, right? Working in corporate America versus going out on your own. Pros and cons on both sides. I think, definitely having kind of a personal mission around what you're wanting to solve. We have Alzheimer's in my family, and it's something that my grandpa passed away with many years ago, and now my uncle has it, and so it's something that we deal with, and so wanting to create something that you want yourself, right? Coming from that angle is super important, because when it does get hard, it has to be more than just, I just want to start a business, right?
Yes.
I just want to start this, and I want to work for myself, because it does get hard and you have to have more drive in you. But I would say the biggest piece of advice is to ask for help, to be honest. I've asked you for help, Stacey. I can't tell you how many people I've asked for help.
Yes.
We ask our professionals for help all the time. And hey, reach out. Can you share this with your existing clients? Can you share this with your network? They are incredible to help us in that way. So ask for help. Something else that you did that I was so impressed when I first met you was when you were trying to figure out kind of what you wanted to start, co-working space.
Yeah.
I forget the number, but you had so many coffees.
Yeah. Thousands.
Thousands of coffees. I remember that and just thinking, wow, like the amount that you learn and knowledge that you create from simply talking to people. So that is a first, right? You have this vision, you have this idea of what you want to create, but that's just a sample size of one. That's just you, right? So the more people that you can talk to, and this is something we did before pulling the trigger on bQuest, is, like you, I was like, hey, introduce me to people. I started talking to all these different professionals. And that's when I got the light bulb of like, wow, like everyone needs all of these people, but how could you ever find them? It's so fragmented. And so that's important. Talk to as many people as you can.
Yes.
And don't feel like you're asking them to move the world for you, right? Because people want to help inherently.
Yes.
All of us have been helped by others at some point, if not ongoing. And so don't be afraid to just reach out and say, hey, I'd love to chat. Can I grab you a coffee? Many times you might have to buy some of those coffees, right? Which is okay too. Maybe a
totally
there. But it makes a big difference.
It really does. And I think you're touching on some really important things. What I realized when I had all those coffees, that was unintentional qualitative market research. Yes. I set out to build a relationship with women that could help these younger girls. But in the long term, what I did is it was market research. And thinking about it like that, qualitative market research, and all the while you're building your social capital. And social capital is one of the biggest predictors of success in business. And so it's really hitting twofold. So your advice is so powerful. And I'm glad you're saying that.
Yeah. And just curiosity, right? Just being curious. So many times I find myself saying, I promise one more question. I've got one more question, right? Just because, just being curious and wanting to learn and wanting, to hear their perspective. Not only is it just interesting, right? But it's super helpful to refine your vision of the world.
Right. Well, before we get to our signature question, what you're doing is so fascinating and I think touches so many hearts. And so I know that there are people listening that are like, oh, I want to learn more. How do I get involved? What is she doing? If someone wants to dig in and learn more, what would you recommend?
Definitely our social media platforms are a great place. We're constantly putting out content, sharing content, talking about, our incredible professionals that are on there. So that's a great place. Of course, reach out directly, Lauren at thebquest.com. You may be sharing it, Stacy, but please reach out to me. Again, we want to connect with local Colorado employers that might be looking for a way to meet their employees where they are, navigating this aging end of life and death experience, right? So let's talk healthcare systems again. Your social workers, your case managers are doing a lot of this care coordination today, but it takes a lot of time and it's difficult. Maybe we can help with that, right? And then, of course, our professional community, we're always looking for the best of the best. And so feel free to reach out in that way also. But most importantly, please go to our website.
Yes.
Register as a user, navigate it, and I want to know what you think. I don't care what you do on there. I just want to know how was the experience, because we're constantly iterating to make it a better experience for you. So that would be my number one ask.
And they can get on and it's a free experience to be able to jump on and see your marketplace and things like that.
Yes, 100%. We always want it to be a free experience so that you can get on there. We'll identify what you're going through and provide those recommendations on which professionals are best suited to serve you. And if you do need help, you can go ahead and connect with these professionals. Like, we're live, they're happy to help today.
Yes.
But more importantly, I want to know how's the experience and how can we continuously improve it for you.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, what you're doing matters so much. And when you bring up employees and employers, you bring your home life to work. As much as we want to keep it separate, let's be honest, we bring our home life to work. And so I think it's so great that there's employers in Colorado, and I'm sure beyond, that will get excited about this so that they can really support their team in a way that not only helps them individually, but helps how they show up and the work that they do for the company.
That is so important. Exactly, because what we see is that you're getting pulled in a lot of different directions, especially if you're part of the sandwich generation, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so if we can get you help,
Yeah.
then that's one thing off your plate where you have support. You feel like you have support, so that you can focus at work and you can show up as a parent, if that's what you're doing, as well as be there for your aging loved one.
And you brought up healthcare as well. A big initiative in healthcare I've seen is preventative. Like,
Yeah.
let's really support people on the front end versus spending millions in the back end. So I think that I'm not surprised that people in the healthcare world are loving what you're doing as well.
Yeah, yeah. It gets back to what you said earlier, where we don't always want to think about too far in the future, but it's like a movie that we've seen before. We know that as we age, we're going to have mobility issues, and we're going to have challenges along the way. And so again, trying to address those proactively is really important. And then knowing that you're prepared for when it does happen it makes the experience so much easier.
Absolutely. Well, we could talk all day.
Yes.
And you are such an inspiring woman entrepreneur and leader. And so when thinking about what should be on someone's coffee mug so they can wake up every day and drink it and be inspired, what would you put on that coffee mug, Lauren?
Gosh, how much space do we have on this? Can we use inspired as a
It
mother?
doesn't have to be pretty, it's supposed to just be inspiring.
Yes.
You can have the whole cup if you want.
Gosh, I would say, because this is something that I think about, and it's not just because it ties in with the business, but I would say tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is because I've always been, a planner. I've always looked to the future. I've always been the one that climbs the mountain, reality. And how fast can I get to the top? And then I'd stand up there and I'd look around. I'd be like, okay, now how fast can we get to the bottom? That was just the type of person
Me too.
I am. And I've learned over the years that, gosh, let's live in the moment.
Yeah.
And kids have really helped me with that, because when I'm with my kids, I do think about that. I think about, tomorrow is not guaranteed. And so I want to be present. I want to be here with them. I don't want to be on my phone. I don't want to be, thinking about work. I am here and I want to be present, because we don't know what the future holds. And sometimes it's a tough thing to think about, as we've mentioned, but you said it creates so much intentionality in how you live.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, if you want to go to Italy and you can, why not this year? Why wait 3 years or 5 years for your anniversary or whatever? Because next year is not guaranteed. And that's really how I want to live my life. And that's how I aspire to be.
Oh, so inspiring. Well, thank you for taking time today to come share about your company. I hope people go and check it out. It's an amazing platform and life-changing for so many. So thank you, Lauren.
Oh, this has been fun, Stacey. Every time we connect, I'm just like, where'd the time go? So
I know,
thank
right?
you. Thank you for having us, and your support and your constant enthusiasm over what we're doing means the world. So thank you.
Oh, well, wonderful. Well, tune in next week for another inspiring guest. Thank you all for